Hi, I am Olivia Lee, and my project is on how John Adams changed the world. One of John Adams' frenemies was Thomas Jefferson. When he went up as a candidate for second president, Mr. Jefferson was the other candidate. He died on the 50th anniversary of American freedom, and his last words were, "Thomas Jefferson still survives, even though Thomas Jefferson died only hours before." John Adams always set a goal for himself. He was a very smart man and became a lawyer, one of the best lawyers in the colonies. Thomas Jefferson said about him, "His powerful words moved us from our seats." John Adams was always speaking everywhere. John Adams thought that facts were more important than opinions. He always thought hard about what was fair and what wasn't. He felt strongly about the taxes because they didn't have a say, and that was not fair. John Adams was fair and hardworking. That helped to keep him determined for America's freedom. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Derek Shout, and I did a presentation on how Thomas Jefferson changed the world. Did you know that the Monticello is also called the mountaintop home in different language? He has written over 6,000 letters in his lifetime too. Thomas Jefferson has written the Declaration of Independence even though he was convinced. He didn't want to do it. Well, Thomas Jefferson's intellectual and inspiring nature helped him transform the world into the land we know now as the USA. Thank you.
My name is Caroline Seppi, and I'm doing a project on how George Washington changed the world. George Washington was the first president, but do you know anything else about him? What I found most interesting was George Washington and the cherry tree story was a myth. It may be a myth, but it doesn't mean George was any less honest. How many people get to live a life with so much luck, still being able to do their duties with a peaceful death? If only we could relive George's life and inspire as many people as he did. I would love to live my life with that kind of pride. George Washington did change the world from being courageous to start a community to the end where he lived on with a proud thought knowing I was the first president of the United States of America. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Drew Goyle, and this is my presentation on how Ben Franklin changed the world. Ben Franklin worked in his father's candle shop when he was a kid. He also wrote in his brother's paper. Ben Franklin was very creative throughout his lifetime. He invented the idea of paved roads, schools, and hospitals. The kite and key experiment led to the lightning rod. He also created the Franklin stove, which led to the whale oil candle. He was also very smart. He studied water, weather, health, and disease, animals, stars, and many other things. He wrote in the Pennsylvania Gazette and published Poor Richard's Almanac. Ben Franklin changed the world when he helped in everything when the colonists were in battle with Britain. Once he helped the colonists, he started with his inventions to help colonial life.
I'm Alex Bogan. This is my presentation on how Samuel Adams changed the world. Even though Sam was best known for being a broom, he actually hated it. Most of what Sam did was stuff that could get him in trouble with the Redcoats. He felt it needed to be done though, so he would go ahead with it. Sam would do anything to get his own to get his way. This would mean like refusing to ride horses, anything, really. Sam was best at something not usually considered good, arguing. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grace McNulty, and this is my presentation on how Paul Revere changed the world. Paul Revere also had 16 children and had 2 wives. His first wife died on May 3rd, 1773. Paul Revere was also in the French and Indian War, which also required a lot of bravery. Paul Revere made things like dentures, cups, plates, and glass when he was a silversmith. Now you know that Paul Revere didn't just change the world with his midnight ride, he changed it in other ways too. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alan, and today I will present on how Patrick Henry changed the world. He was a delegate for the First and Second Continental Congresses and a historical speaker. His actions changed the course of history during the American Revolution. Patrick Henry's parents were John Henry and Sarah Winston Syme. His cause of death was stomach cancer, and he died in his plantation at Red Hill, Virginia. Even though he was best known as a historical speaker, he did have some military presence. Patrick Henry helped write the Virginian Declaration of Rights, which stated the rights that he and the other Virginian delegates stood for. When the Earl of Dunmore, Virginia's governor, sent men to raid stores of ammunition, Patrick Henry led his militia and commanded the raiders to pay for the gunpowder. Patrick Henry inspired patriotism throughout the 13 colonies through his speaking. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mikey Giles, and this is my presentation on how John Hancock changed the world. You may know some things about John Hancock, but maybe not this stuff. John Hancock died on October 8th, 1793. He died in Quincy, Massachusetts, and he was the first governor of Massachusetts. John Hancock was not only first, John Hancock signed the Declaration of Independence, not only first, but so big that the British Party would know he was a rebel. Did you know John Hancock went to a college named Harvard? John Hancock changed the world with his amazingly perfect education and phenomenal job.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Cameron Gordon, and this is my presentation on how Paul Revere changed the world. As a job, Paul Revere was a silversmith. He made a lot of pots, and once he made a silver chain for a squirrel. Paul Revere is best known for the Midnight Ride. Paul Revere was brave. He spied on the British to find about their plans about what they'll do next. Everybody chose him because they thought he was brave enough. And also, he rode in the Midnight Ride warning colonists, men, John Hancock, and Samuel Adams. Paul Revere was also loyal. He knew it was time to break away from England. He also did not like the taxes because the colonists never got a say in any of them. And he never gave up. For example, in taxes, he never gave up trying to get rid of them. Paul Revere was brave and loyal, and that helped him change the world. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow wrote a poem about him during the Midnight Ride, but a lot of the facts in the poem were wrong. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris Langone, and I am doing a presentation on George Washington. George Washington was a phenomenal horseback rider. George Washington was very courageous. He discovered Valley Forge. George Washington was also kind. He always cared about others and his family. George Washington changed the world by being courageous and kind. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tatum Holly, and this is my presentation on how Abigail Adams changed history. She was well known for writing letters to her husband, John Adams. Most of the letters were about women's rights. She thought about a petition for Congress so they could hear her thoughts about women's rights because she was very determined and she wanted people to respect her. She was determined that everyone should go to school, boys, girls, and African Americans. She cared about everyone and she tried to help them. She wrote lots of letters to her husband trying to convince him that women should have equal rights. She supported the colonists in the Revolution and she understood how they felt. Being thoughtful and determined helped Abigail Adams change history and gain respect from other men and women. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Emily Solicito, and this is how Abigail Adams changed the world. Abigail Adams was 74 when she died. She was also the second First Lady. Abigail Adams was best known for writing letters to her husband. Abigail Adams never had an education, so she was taught to read and write at home. Her rights as a woman were very low, so she found other ways to represent herself. When she went to France, she bought a nice house. She wrote letters to her husband when she missed him. Being driven and responsible were some qualities that helped Abigail Adams change the world. She never gave up and fought through difficulties. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aisha Payton, and I did a presentation on how John Adams changed the world. John Adams was a very special man in our lives, and he had many different occupations. John died on the 50th anniversary of independence, or as well known as the 4th of July. John Adams was a very intellectual man. He loved to learn, and he used his intelligence to write letters to Britain and try to solve problems. John was educated at Harvard University at the age of 16 and graduated 4 years later. He graduated and became a teacher, and he studied law at night. A few months later, John became a lawyer. John Adams was a very fair man, and he thought everyone deserved a fair chance. John always would urge the congressmen to fight for all the rights for all the colonists. John Adams changed the world through his fairness and the way he loved to learn.
Hello, I'm Alex Losinski, and I did a report on how Patrick Henry changed the world. Some of the things that stand out to me on this slide is that he had 2 wives and 17 children, and that he died of stomach cancer. The main reason that Patrick Henry was bold was because of all his work as a lawyer and how he would go about himself in his speeches. Patrick Henry had to persevere through a lot in his life. His first wife, Sarah Shelton, died, and he owned a store when he was younger, and it did not do well, and he had to sell it after a year. Patrick Henry changed the world through his perseverance and boldness. Thank you.